What's up, everyone? Welcome to Mondays with Vish. We're your hosts, Grant Vish. New format of the show is 60 Minutes with Vish, because what you may not know about Vish is he is the number one 49ers analyst in the world, and he's also an undergrad in Chicago, and he has a lot of homework to do. So thank you for giving me your time. There's breaking news. It's a big Monday for Mondays with Vish. The Niners are in the playoffs. They won a game, and there's news with their quarterback. Kyle Shanahan just said that Jimmy Garoppolo sprained his throwing shoulder in the second quarter against Dallas. He's going to practice and play this week, but I didn't know that. So what do you think of that? What's your reaction to that news? And then we'll talk. What was your impression of his performance?
Well, I mean, we'll get into his performance. My first reaction to the injury is I'm glad that they expect him to practice and play. My impression usually this time in the NFL is that everybody's injured. Like everybody's body is aching, whether there's a medical diagnosis on it at all. I just think attrition takes over throughout the season. So I'm not shocked that, Garoppolo is dealing with the sprain. But I've also seen playoffs where Aaron Rodgers has played through it with a torn calf, or Tom Brady playing through it with a torn MCL. I've seen a lot of different. Phil Rivers played a playoff game with a torn ACL. So to me, sure, like, it's something to monitor, but I don't expect it to be a hindrance on his performance if he does play, and I don't expect it to make a massive difference. I think some people might point to it in the football game, like, oh, he played the first half really well, he sprained his shoulder, that's why he had a poor second half. But here we are, 4 playoff games into Jimmy Garoppolo's career, and he has not played well in a single one of them. So I'm seeing a different trend.
Interesting and probably coincidental that a similar thing happened after the Tennessee game. Poor performance, highly publicized, national television. The next day, there's an excuse for it. And I'm not saying it's not valid, but wow, that's twice in a row in the span of a month, less than a month. Wow.
I think it is a little coincidental.
Yes.
We already know, right, that he's dealing with this thumb injury, and he's battling through it. I mean, I just mentioned Rodgers, Brady. He himself is battling through an apparently allegedly torn thumb. So he's also battling through injury and managing his body and playing in the playoffs. But yeah, I do think it's a matter of coincidence. To get into his performance, he did not play very well yesterday. The first half was okay. The second half was bad. I think when I look at the first half, the reason I can't go gung-ho in terms of giving credit to him is I thought there were really 2 throws that he made in the first half that were, more than just what a starting quarterback should be able to make. And that was the out route to Juwan Jennings. It was great ball placement, low and away. He put that on threaded that on a needle on third down. And then the off schedule he made, that he threw a strike to Ayuk outside the numbers. Ayuk made a great catch and did a great job of keeping his body control to extend for the first down. But he was off schedule and he threw an absolute strike. My issue is that, when you're paying a quarterback $25 million and you're in the playoffs, those plays should be routine. And I think the problem is that the first half was really just filled with plays that if Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't make those plays, he wouldn't be looked at as a starting player in the NFL. And he's looked at it like that because he does have an adequate skill set and he is talented. So, it's just very difficult for me to sit and credit it. I thought he got a little tight too late in that football game. The second half, especially the fourth quarter, a lot of those drives felt like how it felt during the Super Bowl, where it just felt like the offense was struggling to move. It was like each play was taking a couple years off my life. And I felt that same thing, except I think the biggest difference in this game in the Super Bowl is that you had the illegal hands to the face penalty. You had the 2 defensive holding calls. Dallas really beat themselves in this game. I don't want to harp on Garoppolo because I do think it was a great performance by the Niners overall to go on the road and win a playoff game. Always a tough thing to do, and they did it. But I do think that there's a little bit of a fear factor as a fan for me. Here we are, 4 times this guy's played in the playoffs, and he has basically a half and a drive where he's not played poorly. And that's the drive versus the Vikings. I guess maybe the Super Bowl first half you can kind of say, though I thought he missed a few throws there too. And I think that's scary because this team showed yesterday, and this defense especially, to be able to do that to a good quarterback and Dak Prescott and a good offense without Fred Warner for the last 8 minutes, without Nick Bosa for a half. Like, they're ready for a Super Bowl. And the question is Garoppolo going to be able to play at that level in these playoffs?
Yeah. I mean, I guess there's two ways to look at it from Niner fans is like, he won the game, so why are you getting mad about it? Like, he clearly is part of their winning formula. But then I think the other way to look at it, which is how I look at it, is they're winning in spite of him right now. Like, they're loaded. This team is loaded, and they shouldn't be struck. They shouldn't be going down to the wire in every single game, and they're going down to the wire in these games for one reason: the quarterback. And I
Yeah.
mean, I guess it's hard to say that the rookie with 2.5 games under his belt is a better option, but what I am saying is that I don't. It doesn't look like Jimmy Garoppolo is going to get it done this season. I mean, look. Let me put it this way: if Deebo Samuel and Elijah Mitchell in this defense can continue to play as well as they are, it may not freaking like the Niners might be able to win this with like prime Trent Dilfer. They might be that good, but that's kind of what we're getting right now, is what I'm seeing, like prime Trent Dilfer.
Yeah, and I think the two things that's important, right? Like, we don't know if the rookie can play better right now. Like, again, we get on Garoppolo a lot. He's still a starter in the NFL, and if the Niners move to Trey Lance, which is what's been reported, he will be starting somewhere next year. There's no doubt about it. I think the thing to look at it with that, though, is this is clearly why they drafted Trey Lance. It's playing out right in front of us. There's some limitations. I think the other thing to
the
really
tightness
in
the second half was really disconcerting. Because, like, as you pointed out, it's a lot like the Super Bowl, and he's gotten this reputation as being clutch, and he's had some really nice drives at the end of regular season games. But look at his playoff resume, not clutch.
Yeah, and really, I feel I've compared him to Eli Manning because of his nonchalance, which occurs in the regular season. It's yet to happen in the playoffs. And nonchalance, what I mean by that is they just don't seem affected by the moment or by a mistake. They're totally unfazed. Yeah, but the issue is that when I do make that 2011 Giants comparison, Eli Manning played lights out in those playoffs, and he delivered one performance that was spectacular, and that was in this NFC Championship game against the 49ers in what used to be what was Candlestick Park at the time. Yeah. He was getting hit every play. I've never seen a quarterback play. That's as tough a game as I've seen a quarterback play. He stood up and made some huge throws in that game to Victor Cruz against maybe the best iteration of the Niners defense with Harbaugh. That might have been the best one, 2011. And if the Niners are going to go on to the Super Bowl, which clearly they have the talent to do, they have the coach, to me, they have the defense, he's got to deliver one of these performances at some point. It can't even be a performance. It has to be where late in the game he pulls them out and delivers it. Because yesterday, the reason that you go from saying, oh, they won with him to they won in spite of him is because he threw that stupid interception in the fourth quarter. If he doesn't throw that interception, sure, we're not sitting here saying he played great, but we're also not even talking about him because
they probably win by 13 or 14.
Yeah. And he's a moot point. He played okay. Yeah. They clearly have a great team, all of that. That interception was so awful, and it came at such a bad time.
Followed by the botched quarterback sneak just for the icing on the cake.
Wow. Right, and the botched quarterback sneak is awful.
Which is something they've executed perfectly all year. Now you can't do a quarterback sneak. Wow.
High school quarterbacks know to give their guy a chance when he goes to motion to set himself. To me, that's basic. And those two things are why, when you turn on national TV this morning, one, it's all talking about Dallas. Is Dallas a failure? Fire Mike McCarthy. But the conversation about the Niners isn't DeMeco Ryans is a genius. Shanahan's a genius. Deebo Samuel's special. It's how far can they go with Garoppolo? Because we see this really good team, but we also saw a quarterback who, when you're up 23-7, threw a disgusting interception, missed a wide open Brandon Ayuk on a third down. And those are the kind of mistakes that they can't afford to make because, again, Dallas committed 14 penalties in this football game. Those 14 penalties allowed for this margin of error. Green Bay is not going to allow this margin for error. I don't think Aaron Rodgers will throw the interception that Dak threw to K'Wan Williams either.
And real quick, it seems to me that Jimmy Garoppolo really hasn't played well since the game that he injured his thumb. Now, he wasn't playing well really before he injured that thumb in this game, but the last 3 starts haven't been good. 5 picks the last 3 starts. Now he's got a shoulder on top of it, and it's his throwing shoulder, and he's going to Green Bay, and it's going to be really cold. What are we really expecting here? Are we getting to a point? I mean, I'm not writing the Niners off because, again, they could run to victory here. But at what point are his limitations going to just end the season and the Niners will be like, oh, well, our guy was hurt, and that's why we lost? I hate to hear that.
I don't think it'll be that because they admitted his limitations to you. That's why Trey Lance was drafted where he was and all of that. But I think because we also have the frame of reference of seeing in the Super Bowl when it really came together in that fourth quarter of everyone was saying, when is Garoppolo going to hurt them? When is Garoppolo going to hurt them? The entire playoffs, they took the ball out of his hands, put the ball in his hands when it counts. And, forget the Sanders play. To me, the most egregious miss of that game is 3rd and 5. You're running arches, a Shanahan favorite. Kittle comes open right in front of his face. He's the first read on the play, and he's throwing a comeback to
2-yard pass to Tevin Coleman or something, yeah.
No, he threw the comeback to Kendrick Bourne. The one
okay.
Bourne ran the round route. And there was a little debate on the communication of that, but Kittle was the first read. He came wide open, and he just didn't throw him the ball. I don't know why, but I hope that doesn't happen again, honestly, this year as a fan, because I do think Garoppolo is capable. We've seen him do it in the regular season. We saw him do it like 5 different times in the regular season, but here we are. 4 times now he's played in the playoffs, and all 4 times he's been underwhelming. That's not it.
His playoff quarterback ratings like 60-something, 67. All right. One more piece of news, and then we're going to go to some more topics. Fred Warner has a low ankle sprain, not a high ankle sprain. He is going to probably practice this week, and he says he expects to play. What do you think? Good news?
Yeah, great news, obviously.
Yeah.
I thought he was outstanding yesterday. I think it's cool to watch him, Greenlaw, and Aziz play together because they all have like different styles, and I think they play off of each other really well. They all have different strengths and different weaknesses. Of course, Warner being the best and the most complete of them. Obviously, having him is great news. I mean, he eliminates and destroys people in coverage. I also thought it was really funny that when Dallas was getting their repetitive false starts at the beginning of the 3rd quarter, he kept laughing and going up the field. And he did a real smart thing where he wouldn't look at any Dallas Cowboys, so he wouldn't get taunting. But you could discernibly make out that he was laughing on the mic and just celebrating up the field. I thought that was hilarious. But yeah, obviously massive news. He's a great player.
Absolutely. And what I think is cool is like he injured he had this injury earlier this season. And it's a 17 game season, 18-week season. He missed a game. He needed a week. Now it's like, not missing this game. Yeah. Sorry. This is the biggest game of my life. I'm not going to miss this freaking game. I love that.
And I love it too because, I mean, Bosa's obviously in a different situation with
concussion that's protocol,
totally but I always get this feel, and I don't know why, but during the playoffs, when I see like really, really star players get injured, I'm like, there's no way they're missing it. They're going to find ways to play because it feels like the best players always find ways to play. And the other thing is I promise that, there's, Deebo and Trent Williams, they're probably battling stuff that might not be on the injury report because it's not an official injury, but their bodies are just really sore like we talked about. But that those guys are going to, no matter what, tough it out and play. It's wild.
I should get Jimmy Garoppolo's agent so that news can just conveniently leak out on a Monday. All right, I'm sorry. Last topic, and then we'll take some questions. So we really dumped on Jimmy Garoppolo and placed the blame at his feet. But let's step back. It's a team game. They were up 23-7, and really the whole offense just went into, a ditch. And it can't just be all, and maybe it's all the quarterback, but do you think, anyway, it seemed like we both saw some Super Bowl parallels. Shanahan bears a lot of responsibility for that Super Bowl. Did you see some of his tightness?
I don't know if I saw his tightness, but I did feel a little bit of the tightness from the 49ers offense.
Yes.
It felt like they just needed one drive to put the game away, and they couldn't piece together that one drive. It was just one thing would go wrong or one thing would go wrong, which is,
and the defense kept it's like, all right, here, you do it. Put the game away. We're like, oh.
And that's the tightness I feel. I don't know if that's a reflection of Shanahan or I don't know if it's Garoppolo getting tight in that moment, but there was definitely a tightness that you could discern. The one thing I would say, though, is that, and I think the one thing that became clear is that there's one player in this offense that feels none of that pressure, and that's Deebo Samuel. And what I really liked about Shanahan is that, people have gotten on him, you specifically, and especially for not going to his best players sometimes in critical moments. Sometimes,
like
he's thinking X's and O's instead of thinking players.
Yeah.
This game, every important third down they have, whether they didn't actually convert either of them, right? The 3rd and 5, they threw the shallow cross. Van Der Esch made a great stop on Deebo.
Yes.
Rarely first guy brings Deebo down. Second one was, I don't even know how they were able to see the angle from the TV. Tony Romo's drawing a slanted, 84-degree line and saying that he's clearly 1 inch short. Skip Bayless is tweeting that he's 6 inches short. I don't know what replays he had access to. I don't know how they did it, but it was
that was a great call.
Again, it was a great call, and he went to Deebo Samuel with basically the game on the line and the season on the line, which to me is a really good thing because to me, they should be going to Deebo Samuel anytime the game's on the line.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I was really impressed with that. To me, where he showed a little. I mean, he has to bear some responsibility for not having any points after getting up 23. But I think the fourth downs were weird, and I think we talked about it during the week. Like, what's the Dan Quinn effect going to be? And I think might have been that. I mean, Kyle's been so like he's a tendency. When it's 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, I do a quarterback sneak, and I think he felt he needed to break tendency a little bit. Like he didn't do it he kicked the field goal on the first one. And the second one, he like dressed it up in a way that the Niners hadn't shown yet, which is fine. Of course, do that. But it's also seemed like they weren't really good at executing it. Or I don't know how many times anyway, it seemed to me that's where I would point to.
And honestly though, his 4th down decision-making, if you want to go there, it is bizarre. I'd love to hear his science behind why he goes for it when he goes for it and why he doesn't. He always says it's because he's expecting a defense or he's expecting a look. And it's a vague answer that kind of just gets him out of it. But it's I'm embracing the analytical decision like a John Harbaugh who says we're going to go for it if it's analytically the correct decision, which the analytics almost always seem to point to. He says it's a gut thing. And sometimes the gut in terms of where they are in the football game, like it's a little bit scary at times because a good offense like Dallas, it didn't happen yesterday, but no matter how good your defense is playing and how much they're stopping them, you don't know if they can just get off that one drive. They can just have that one drive. And so sometimes it's shocking to me that, he doesn't trust. He's got Deebo Samuel. He's got George Kittle. He sometimes doesn't trust them to get that 1 yard and he punts the ball back. It'll be interesting to see moving forward because I don't know what
in this game though. Like I don't think I have my thing here, but there was like he had like
he kicked early in the game. Yeah.
He had like a 3rd and 1 where he called. I don't have it here. He called a pass. It was like, what? I just felt he was a little off in his play calling. And I guess comparing him to D'Amico, who we're going to talk about in a minute, it was a stark difference. Like Kyle's he had great moments, but he sort of like had to find it. And D'Amico was in the zone the whole way. So I was just it's like, damn, dude, Kyle, this guy's been doing it for 3 months, man. He's showing you up. Anyway, Kyle, that call on 3rd and 10 at the end was great.
If you want to go there, I do think there's a difference between Shanahan and D'Amico Ryans and Robert Saleh. And if you want to go right there,
we got to answer some questions yet. So that's a tease. We're teasing that one. But let's answer questions for 5 minutes. Matthew says, Grant, last night you said Jimmy Garoppolo has no conscience on the field, and I agree. Can you expand? I think him not throwing it away when necessary is selfish. I see what you're saying. That's not what I was thinking. It's just the way he never seems to feel like anything is his fault. Something bad happens and he shakes it off, but the way he talks about things, it's always like, hey man, it was my fault. And that's my no conscience. He's never like with Nick Mullins, you could always be like, damn, like I'm letting everyone down. And maybe that's not a good thing, but I feel like once it'd be nice if Jimmy would just say, hey, that was my fault today. Sorry.
And I think that's kind of the beauty of Jimmy. Because in the good, he doesn't feel himself at all. True. Like he's the same exact way when good things happen. So I think that's like the best of Jimmy. But sometimes I do understand that, when things are going bad and things are clearly your fault, he doesn't seem to have any sort of like, I lose a little confidence in myself, or this is affecting me, or this is going to change my life. Because with Mullins, we saw him in near tears when Beathard replaced him in the Eagles game. He was basically crying on the field. Yes. Like his eyes were watered up and all of that. And maybe it's his problem. He cares too much and he wears his emotions too much and lets them dictate.
Jimmy gives that vibe off that he doesn't care at all. I mean, after the game yesterday, he took this huge picture with his family and friends. You would have thought he threw for 5 touchdown passes. And from his perspective, he was great yesterday. That's the thing with Jimmy. Like, he thinks he was great yesterday. To me, usually quarterbacks are their toughest critic and stuff, but he's not. I mean, he's like, hey, and when everyone basically blamed him for the quarterback sneak, when asked about that, he was like, Kyle said that? Like, he really couldn't freaking believe it. Yeah, man, it's your fault. Why isn't Trey Lance even considered an option?
They're winning.
Because they're winning. Yeah, because they're winning. Thank you, Fish. That's the right answer. Watching the national media cover the 49ers is painful. Deebo Samuel is great. The elite pass rusher, Joey Bosa, and powerhouse Eric Armstead. Armstrong. Yeah. I was in Dallas, and I went on the way back. Just all ESPN coverage was about the Cowboys. Like, they lost. Who cares? They freaking
Fire
lost.
McCarthy. Is Dak the guy?
Crazy.
What Jerry said to the refs, screw them.
Do they really drive ratings like that? I guess they do. My heart skips a beat every time a porn star Jimmy drops back. Like in a good way or a bad way? Rob, thank you.
Bad way.
Ricky says the Niners sadly live and die by Jimmy, and it takes extra effort from everyone else to not lose. That's how I see it. Some people would disagree with that, but that's essentially how I see it, at least the last few weeks.
I think the way I see it is his performance against Dallas is okay if he can show up and make up for it by, having a big drive later in these playoffs. The issue is that I have no evidence in front of me after seeing him 4 times in the playoffs to say Garoppolo is going to step up in a big spot and take them down the field. We've seen him do it in the regular season, but again, we've seen him in the playoffs 4 times, and I can't reiterate this enough. He has not had one good game in the playoffs.
No. No, he hasn't. Shannon Sharp said the Niners would have beaten Dallas by 30 with any other quarterback. A few national televised games, and the secret is getting out. Yeah, and again, I think the Niners can probably beat anyone with Jimmy Garoppolo as long as these 2 running backs are healthy. And Deebo is one of them. Last question, then we're going to get back to the topics, and then we'll get back to questions later because Vish is limited on time. Jimmy gets hurt every time he throws picks lately. This is 100% a conspiracy if he is good to go last minute, and they say he's toughing it out. Well, you said it, not me. But I think everyone's kind of like, again? Anyway.
Yeah, I guess, he is toughing it out. My thing with toughing it out is I see quarterbacks tough it out every single year. Like, to me, the hallmark of the greatest quarterbacks is that unless they have an injury that requires, like a surgery, they play through it. Like, we've seen Brady. I mean, Derek Carr missed the game with the pull quad. Yeah.
I'm not saying he's inventing the injury or faking an injury. I'm just saying, like, now we got to know about it. Right? Like yesterday, you were trying to be tough and not talk about it. But now everyone's saying, your stock went down and we got to know about it all of a sudden. Like,
I totally understand that. My point is that to me, I don't look at it as he's toughing it out because the way I'm always viewing it with any of these quarterbacks is this time is they're all probably toughing it out.
Yeah, they're football players. An extra star. Okay. So that was a lot of negativity started off. The Niners are really, really good. This team is way better than I gave them credit for in the offseason. They're loaded. And part of it is that they have a terrific defensive coordinator. I didn't see this coming. I was like, he's not experienced. You know what? Talent makes up for not having experience. This guy is super freaking talented. I couldn't believe he did that in his first playoff game as a coordinator. What do you think of D'Amico?
Yeah, he's outstanding. And what I wanted to touch on when you were talking about, the difference between him and Shanahan and him and Robert Saleh is, to me, he is an aggressive coach, but he lives by being an aggressive coach. And there's no call that makes it more discernible than this. If you can bear with me for just 1 second, I would just like to pull up a quick stat. Just need to find it real quick.
As he's looking for the stat, just notice that his audio is a lot better this week. Got him that Blue Yeti, courtesy of the comment section. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so the top 5. So the play of the game, 4th and 11, he went cover 0, and the Niners aren't a 0 blitz team, right? To go all out blitz, cover 0 means you have no safeties in the middle of the field. Everybody's locked up in man coverage, and you're bringing everybody. And he went 0.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, Kansas City, Steve Spagnuolo, any big moment in the game, he's going 0. Miami, Brian Flores, they go 0 a lot. Their big thing in the Super Bowl versus Goff was that they played quarters at the beginning of the game.
Right? You're dictating to the offense.
And then the Stephon Gilmore play was they went 0. They went 0 on Goff, and of course Goff.
Because there's only so many things offenses can do against that, right? You got to get the ball out quick.
Baltimore, Wink Martindale, they go 0 a lot.
All types of
Niners don't. Robert Saleh
does it.
I've seen like 3 calls of him maybe going 0. It's usually as a tendency breaker, but D'Amico Ryans as a tendency breaker with the game on the line, going to a 0 blitz. I mean, the top 5 teams this year in terms of going to a 0 blitz were Kansas City, as I mentioned, Miami, Baltimore, Denver, shocking with Fangio actually a little bit, and then Arizona. And Arizona actually only called a 0 blitz 3.6% of the time. And I'm assuming that the Niners are probably in the bottom 10 teams in terms of going 0. And so you can imagine they're probably calling this blitz 1% of the time in their entire defensive snaps. They're a quarters team, and they mix in cover 3 and a little bit of cover 6 too, though it's not a real coverage. It's I guess you can call it cover 3 weak based on the safety rotation. The point is that for him to break tendency on the play of the game and put his – basically he it was like the biggest baller move. It was big boss.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going
Yeah.
zero blitz. What are you going to do about it?
Mhm.
And Dak Prescott actually threw an incredible ball off his back foot that Cedric Wilson had a chance. That was kind of wild. But for him to do that and call it at that point, to me, that tells you, like, wow, he has the utmost confidence and self-belief. Yes. And it also tells you that he's going to be a really aggressive head coach because that's who he is. And even though the Niners don't blitz a lot, he seems to blitz when the game's on the line. The important third down stop versus Tennessee to get the ball back was he brought a 5-man pressure and he played man behind it. DeMeco Ryans, when it counts, he's bringing pressure and making you have to make a quick decision as a quarterback. And to me, that's kind of special.
And the last thing, that was a highly pressurized game. There was a ton of pressure on that game. It came down to the wire. That was a butt-clinching game. And Jimmy Garoppolo started acting a little erratic. I mean, you started seeing people do things that they didn't do during the regular season, including Kyle, not DeMeco. DeMeco is a player. He's built for this. Apparently, he responds well to pressure. I guess if you know him from his playing days, you wouldn't be surprised. I didn't watch the Houston Texans and the Philadelphia Eagles that much. I know that DeMeco Ryans had accolades and everyone respected him, but man, this guy is legit, dude. This guy is really freaking good.
Yeah. And I think there's a stark difference too between him and Saleh. When you remember Saleh in his first year, now he's working with a lot more talent than Saleh has.
Yes, that's true.
But he's also schematically, to me, like he's still running the same defense Saleh ran, but he mixes it up a lot better than Saleh did for the first part of his career. Like the Niners do a really good job of basically switching between 2 or 3 coverages, but they don't give you that same look where you can't get comfortable, where on 3rd down and 3rd and 3, they're definitely going to go to this. And they have a lot of late safety rotations between split and single high. It's easy to do that when you have 2 safeties comfortable doing everything like the Niners have in Ward and Tart. It's a really good defense. DeMeco Ryans is unbelievable. He's fantastic.
Okay, so DeMeco's great, but there's also another superstar on this coaching staff on the defense, and it's Chris Kosaric. I think it was highlighted when Nick Bosa went down and the 49ers pass rush got better. I mean, I'm not saying anything against Nick Bosa, but the way that the depth stepped up was surprising, but also not, considering Chris Kosaric is the best, and he does this all the time. What an asset.
Yeah, there's no words, right? I mean, the transformation of the 49ers really has been that their defensive line went from being an average unit, a top 12, top 13 unit, to playing up to what they were built to be, what they've brought in Kosaric to do, why they pay these guys a lot of money, and that's be dominant. And we're seeing people like Arden Key, right? Arden Key is a star. To me, Arden Key is no longer just a minimum defensive lineman, because he basically kicks ass every play. And when he lines up on the inside, I mean, he whooped Connor Williams yesterday. He's pretty unblockable. He is an outstanding football player. Like, I don't think it can be said enough how good Arden Key is, because Bosa's been consistently playing at the same level. The reason their pass rush is so suffocating is because Arden Key has really become kind of unblockable one-on-one, especially on the inside. And
Can Eric Armstead, real quick about Arden Key real quick? The Raiders were so dumb and the Niners are so smart, because there was essentially a trade. Now, it wasn't a trade, but the Niners signed Key, who was a free agent. The Raiders were like, he sucks. And the Raiders signed Solomon Thomas, who the Niners were out on. And if they had talked to us, the way I felt was like, look, if Chris Kosaric can't make it work with Solomon Thomas, why are you even trying, Raiders? And they gave him a bunch of money. Like, the Niners didn't know what they were doing. I felt like Kosaric and Arden Key had a chance. He had his chance with Solomon Thomas. There's nothing there. Wow. Kosaric, if someone has any talent, this guy will get it out.
Yeah. And he's
I didn't even take shots at Solomon Thomas randomly, but I did.
Yeah, because, I mean, so Key's been fantastic, right? Armstead been outstanding. He's been a dominant interior defensive lineman. But I think the standout...
Credit to DeMeco for moving him there.
Right.
Sorry.
But to me, the standout is that Kosaric is getting real production out of Omenihu and Jordan Willis. I mean, Splash Cousin posted the stat yesterday. Tyron Smith, Hall of Fame left tackle, he's given up 11 pressures this year. Yesterday, he gave up 7 pressures, and he was getting his butt kicked by Jordan Willis. He was getting his butt kicked by Omenihu. And, you don't expect that to happen in a playoff game at home with a Hall of Fame tackle. But these guys, this defensive line was kicking butt. I mean, DJ Jones is a monster. I don't think he gets mentioned enough. Ebukam has been playing a lot better. But, yeah, it's
Kevin Givens was really good in this game. Givens was good in this game.
Yeah. Yeah, he played well too. And Street was good was good against Houston. Or he might have been good against
He just hasn't been playing as much. recently, but pretty much every single guy on the defensive line is good. Who isn't good on the defensive? And if you're not good, they'll just replace you and bring someone else in because Chris Kosar, if you have any talent at all, Arden Key clearly does.
It's a lot deeper than the 2019 defensive line at this point. The 2019 defensive line at this point was the 4 front guys, and then behind them they had to play Anthony Zettel and Solomon Thomas and those type of guys. This defensive line, because they lost DJ Jones, they lost Ronnie Blair. This defensive line, it rotates with, DJ Jones and you have Armstead and Arden Key. It's a deeper defensive line than 2019, which is scary.
Yeah. All right, last topic, and then we'll go answer some more questions. Eric Armstead, I think I owe this man an apology. I was really tough on him the last few years, but I think really in retrospect, I was down on the way the Niners were using him. I mean, he was a team guy. They drafted him to play like a 3-4 defensive end. Saleh comes in and says, you're a Leo, be 275 pounds. That's kind of unfair. And then the next year, they're like, no, you're not a Leo, but you're like a base end, be 290. And it took 5 years for DeMeco to be like, you're a defensive tackle, go play D tackle. And now he's DeForest Buckner or something. I mean, damn. So sorry, Eric, my bad. Sorry.
Yeah, you do. I don't think there's much else to say if Grant you're apologizing to Eric Armstead, because honestly, he's a guy that takes a lot of flack. And I understand it sometimes because he basically became the guy that people get upset with because DeForest Buckner is no longer a 49er, and he is. That's basically what happened to him. He's the guy they kept. It's like what happened to Steve Young, if dare I go there. Like, people didn't like Steve Young because he's the guy who replaced Joe Montana.
Yeah,
they were angry at him. And then
but I think so, yes. You have to ask Jack. Jack Hammer lived through that. My dad did too.
Okay, that's just my guess. I think
that's what happened, yes.
Because that's just at least the vibe I get when you hear Steve Young talk about it. Like, until you could win that Super Bowl, like, people were really mad at him. The monkey on his back, nothing was
good enough. Yes, true. It's true.
In a much smaller scale, that kind of what happened to Eric Armstead. He just became the guy they kept, and they traded DeForest Buckner, and he got a good amount of money. So, instead of looking at him, Jimmy Ward, and, Javon Kinlaw, they only look at him because Kinlaw's hurt. And so it's been unfortunate for him from that standpoint, but he's been kicking butt, especially like the last 8 games when they kicked him inside. I think he's been outstanding against the run. I think a lot of their run defense, it wasn't, to me, defensive line. On the defensive line earlier in the year when they were struggling, I just felt like they weren't triggering and filling as quickly, which they are doing better. But Eric Armstead has also helped that because the way he disengages from blocks and screws up run schemes is incredible. He is really a fantastic player. And I want to go here because we talk about his contract a lot. At the level he's currently playing, I don't think there's any problem paying him $20 million next year.
I think the reason they didn't want to play him at 3 technique is that, like, he doesn't have the body type for it. He's 6'7". He's got long legs. You'd think theoretically he's an easy target for, like, down blocks and double teams, and you can kind of wash him out of the play, but I guess not. He's a good run defender at the edge too, but he's a terrible pass rusher on the edge, and he can't even keep the quarterback in the pocket. In the interior, I mean, he's a force. The quarterback can't step up. He's really, really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
And he offers versatility because he can line up basically He can line up in 3 through 9, and you can put him in any of those techniques as a defensive lineman, which then allows them to be a little more variable with their fronts because they no longer have to just keep lining up in the Seattle front with a 1, a 3, a big 5 technique, the Sam linebacker over the tight end, and then they play their wide 9. Now they can, play Armstead a little wider. They can play him a little more inside, and they do that.
The irony to me, though, is that it took Kinlaw getting hurt for the Niners to figure this out. I'll give DeMeco credit, but I totally forgot Javon Kinlaw was on the team. And now it's like, if he comes back, cool, but like, that's Armstead's position now, man. Like,
they'll need him when he comes back, though.
What? He can be nose tackle. Yeah. No, yeah, he'd be a great piece.
They need him.
Yeah, he'd be more the merrier, but like, dude, that's Armstead's spot now. There's one more thing I wanted to say, and this was for DeMeco. I wanted to say this, but we were really I'm always really critical of Kyle. He hired DeMeco. He hired Saleh. He hired DeMeco. In both cases, when they made the hire, I was like, who the hell is this guy? You couldn't get someone better? He was right both times. So credit goes to Kyle.
And I think the third guy, the next guy he will hire when DeMeco eventually gets his head coaching job will also be excellent. Because if there's one thing he's shown that I have no clue. I have
Is there
no
someone on the
clue.
staff that they're grooming for it, or you think he'll go outside the building? We don't have to go that far down.
Yeah, it'll be. I mean, if D'Amico gets a head coaching job, that'll be a hot topic. But he has a real knack for finding and developing coaches and having them coach a specific style, and he makes them better as a head coach, which is part of his job. So it's impressive.
Okay, we have 2 more topics. We want to talk about Deebo because that's your topic, and then we got to get Vish's thoughts on the Packers. First, though, let's take some questions for the next 5 minutes, and then we'll get those 2 topics, and then I'll finish it off with the questions, and then we'll let Vish go. San Fran 49er fan says Jimmy Garoppolo is like a faulty power supply. I love the analogies that we get with Jimmy Garoppolo to fully understand him. It's fine at times, but at the end of a project, you risk losing everything on a crash. Change the power supply. That was a good analogy.
That's why they drafted Trey Lance.
Exactly, because it's that serious. Connor says if the Niners can pull off a win this weekend versus the Packers and come out of it relatively healthy, I can't see a team being able to stop the Niners.
Yeah, this is the big one. Beating Green Bay, if they do that, they're winning the Super Bowl.
Oh, I don't know about that. But yeah, it seems like the AFC's Kansas City and Buffalo are getting pretty tough. I'm curious to see what Buffalo would do against the Niners. Curious.
I think the Niners defense could give Buffalo problems.
I do think so too. The Niners defense can give everyone problems if they did that.
Yeah. I think they can give this iteration of Kansas City problems.
I think they can give every offense problems.
Yeah.
Problem is Jimmy Garoppolo gives everyone problems too. Michael says Jittery Garoppolo is a terrible at an alarming level. Defense is playing A+, but can't hold everyone under 20. Kyle must make a quarterback change or fail. Damn. Yeah, Michael, I agree. I'm sorry, Michael. I think everyone expected the Niners to make this change at the bye week, and the fact that Kyle didn't was surprising. I mean, no one would have really expected that in August if you knew they were 2-4.
One thing I will say is we can nitpick Jimmy G all we want, but if they end up going to the Super Bowl, which they do have a real shot to do, whether it's by hook or crook with Jimmy G, we'll all have to eat our crow. So,
but if they can win a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo and his 1-2 interception TD to interception ratio last month, then God, what a testament to that defense and run game. I'm sorry, like you can't tell me that there's some secret sauce to throwing 2 picks a game. Like, wow. But okay.
And to me, that's the kind of the problem, right? If he does not throw that dumb interception in this game, we are not talking about him.
Yeah, it's just sort of like a blah game that doesn't get micro overanalyzed because they won by 13 and who cares? You know? Yeah. Kind of like his previous playoff games when he didn't do much, but the Niners just won by a lot. Milf Hunter says Warner got hurt after the interception. It was Arsenal's fault. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of game left, but yeah. Master J says, why was the game so close? Because we have a quarterback who is inept. The game is over 1 inch. Jimmy's head is in the clouds. Trent never gets set. That's the thing about that last play that kills me is like, that was a straight up boneheaded mistake. I'm sorry. Like, that's all that was. Like, where's your head in this play? What are you doing? Sorry.
Yeah.
Bonehead. Gala says previous 2 games indoor, next at Green Bay, and potentially -0. Negative weather. How do you think the team performs? Jimmy Garoppolo, thumb shoulder holds up. Love the content, fellas. We're gonna get to that in a minute. If you just bear with us. This is a good question, but we're gonna shout out you when we get there. In your honor. Wyatt says, should the 49er fans be worried with Adam Peters and Mike McDaniel getting interviews and will get GM and head coaching jobs in the future, or can we expect good replacements for both roles?
Yeah, I still don't. I'm not 100% sure what Peters' contribution is. Rumor has it Peters picks the good guys.
The good players. He gets the
bad
good
draft picks.
Yeah.
So if player's good, he was picked by Adam Peters.
Yes.
If he was bad, he was picked by John Lynch. I'm joking. But in terms of McDaniel, I think he would be a loss. But honestly, look, losing assistant coaches is always going to be a loss. But to me, they have the ace, and that's Kyle Shanahan. And he should be able to hire a replacement. And if Mike McDaniel is an exceptional coach, he'll go have success elsewhere. I do think he is a really, really smart run game coordinator. I think he's got as much credit into the genius of the Niners run game as Kyle. And I love listening to his press conferences. I think they're fantastic.
He might be the one guy Kyle can't replace because losing Saleh, no problem. You know, losing Mike LaFleur, no problem. McDaniel, that would be interesting. Also, D'Amico will be interesting too. On the plus side, with Greenlaw and Aziz healthy, they could play Warner on a smaller snap count just to not to overload his ankle. If that's necessary, that's a good point.
I don't think they'll do that, though.
I don't think it's going to be necessary, though. So can we fire Hightower yet or nah? They might have to after the season, though. That might have to be the fall guy.
Yeah.
Dude, it's terrible. They kept their defense on the field and still couldn't stop the fake. Like, what? Robbie Gould, we won by 6 points, 2 field goals. Why weren't they TDs, at least one of them? Answer Jimmy Garoppolo. That's the point, Vish. Jimmy Garoppolo is okay. Don't sugarcoat it. He never sugarcoats it. He should have been great. The game was set up for Jimmy Garoppolo to be great, not okay. Yeah, that's the way I look at it. It was like, what more do you need? Here's the running game. Here's the defense. Here's Dallas, like, tripping all over themselves. And Jimmy's like, well, all right, hold on. Warren, I'm going to get you in a minute. But I want to get back to Vish. Vish. We used to have debates on this show like a year ago. We would say, who's better, Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk? That was funny because I used to argue Brandon Ayuk. And I like Brandon Ayuk. He's a good player. But I just now feel like I was really, really super wrong. And that Deebo Samuel not only is better than Brandon Ayuk, but that he's better than every player in the league. And that he's the best player in football. I pretty much feel that way. And he'll never get that credit because that always goes to a quarterback or a pass rusher. But I'm sorry, man. I don't think this team would have a winning record without Deebo Samuel.
I think he's really, 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 really special. I said before the season,
so what I want to say is
this
is your opportunity to take a victory lap because you were right. And everyone's like trying to jump on now and be like, this is how good Deebo is. But you've been saying this for like more than a year. So what I'm saying is I don't want to take credit. This is your
I legitimately thought, especially when I heard that he was doing really good in camp, I thought we were going to see an MVP level year from him. I tweeted out before the season, think 2012 Percy Harvin, first 6 game of the season when Percy Harvin was an MVP candidate. To me, he took it to a level beyond Percy Harvin because I think what he does in the run game is even more special. Yeah, and
Percy Harvin with strength and durability. Yeah, it's crazy.
And
because Percy Harvin broke down every time. Yeah.
And one of the topics we've talked about throughout this season to me is who's the leader on the 49ers? The Niners have a void in leadership. I think the one thing we've seen in the second half of this season is that they go how Deebo Samuel goes. And it's not a vocal leadership to me, but it's the physical tone in every game, the energy. He gets everybody going. It's Deebo Samuel who sets the tone on how they're going to play. To me, it was Deebo Samuel that against the Rams when Jalen Ramsey tried to intimidate him, didn't flinch at all. And it was him that was poised throughout that entire game. It's a little bit Frank Gore-esque. You know, Frank Gore wasn't the most vocal guy, but he was kind of the heart and soul of the 2011 to 2014.
There's just an understanding that the offense goes through him.
Yeah.
Everyone knows the offense goes through him. Yeah. Deebo.
To me, it's him. He sets the tone. They go as Deebo Samuel goes.
Kittle knows. Everyone knows that it's Deebo's team. And if Deebo looks at Kyle and says, give me the ball, everyone's like, cool, Deebo wants the ball. Great, thanks. Do it.
I mean, his touchdown run was ridiculous. For him to cut back, but then have that gear. And this is the explosive gear that I talk about. You know, when I talk about Brandon Ayuk, this is something I don't see that he has. No. But this, to me, the most special players. Jerry Rice had it on the football field. This gear to run away from everybody with that rare explosion. Deebo Samuel has it. And that's why he's changed this offense in the red zone, because when angles get tighter, he's able to just outrun them with pure speed. I mean, he did it against the Rams on his touchdown run. This touchdown run was just pure explosion and pure speed.
I'd like to check it out, but where do you think his average, like on his touchdown runs, how do you think, how far out do you think they've been on average? 15 yards?
Probably 14, 15 yards, yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. Who else in the league is like that? Who can do that? Again, that's why I keep comparing him to Steph Curry. It's like, it's just having the 30-foot shot in your arsenal. Like, oh, you can score from out there. Well, that's tough. How do we stop that? You can't.
And the other thing I wanted to touch on, right, because another topic of conversation we've had, and to me, Deebo solved that problem too, is, they missed Mostert. They missed Mostert's explosion in this offense. Deebo Samuel continues to be their number one wide receiver, but the transformation in this offense is Kyle Shanahan having the judgment to make an in-season adjustment and start playing Deebo as a running back to get more touches out of him. And you find out, wow, he's one of the 5 best running backs in the NFL. Wow, you no longer miss that explosive element to your offense because Deebo turns 7-yard runs into 25-yard runs with just pure speed and power and vision. He's insane.
He's Mostert with power.
Yeah.
He's Mostert with power, which is crazy because Mostert was averaging 6 yards a carry. This guy can do that too.
And to me, they got to sign him no matter what. I've seen people say, oh, they don't need to sign him.
I'm sold.
His
No,
durability
I'm
is
sold on
question
that.
mark.
I'm sold.
Yeah.
Deebo has to stay. Deebo has to stay. And now I'm thinking, like, if you were to choose between Deebo and Bosa, like, Bosa's great. He's objectively a great player, but they did fine without him. I don't think the Niners would do fine without Deebo Samuel. Again, I think they would have a losing record without Deebo. They would have lost to Chicago without Deebo Samuel. I think they would have beaten Chicago without Bosa.
Yeah,
they would have lost to Chicago.
I don't know.
I
don't know if I'm ready to go there, but I think one thing we can say is that 2019 draft, looking back on it, the fact that they nailed their franchise offensive player with their second round pick and they nailed their franchise defensive player with their first round pick is pretty impressive.
All right, Vish. Last topic, and then I can let you go. Niners playing the Green Bay Packers. We know this matchup, but you're a Midwest guy. You know the Packers really well. You know what they've been doing recently. How does this matchup stack up?
They're the best team in the NFL, in my opinion. Top to bottom throughout the season, I thought they were the best team in the NFL, and they're getting some big names back. Jair Alexander is coming back. Zadarius Smith is coming back. They have a really good team. So that's where I wanted to go to start off with. I think one of the most underrated parts of the second half of this season is the improved play of the interior offensive line. Laken Tomlinson, top to bottom, has had a good season, but Alex Mack was struggling really early. Javon Hargrave gave him all he could handle week 2, and Kenny Clark absolutely kicked Alex Mack and Daniel Brunskill's ass in their week 3 matchup. To me, that was the biggest difference in the Green Bay Packers, was that Kenny Clark dominated that game. He was the best defensive lineman on the field, in my opinion, in that game. Alex Mack has played really, really well the last 6-7 games. I think again, shout out Splash Cousin, another great stat. 4 games, 0 pressures allowed. I think that continues, and I think the fact that he's going to play much better against Kenny Clark is going to allow them to run the football. I think, Green Bay has a good defense. I think they have a good run defense. Devondre Campbell's had a great season. Rashawn Gary's playing really well. Preston Smith has played really well. But I think the Niners can run the ball on anybody because I think they're both powerful, but they also have a great scheme. And I think they'll be able to run the ball in this game. They'll be able to do it really well and really effectively.
Compare the Niners run game to the Rams run game. What is the Rams scheme? They have like 3 plays. I'm sorry.
They run the wind back play. They have outside zone. They run inside zone. And they change it up with personnel. The Niners run game is definitely more diverse. They set it up more.
It's so good. It's great. And they got the 2 running backs right now. Yeah, that's why they just might win a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo this year. But it would be like, the Joe Flacco. It would be like the Trent Dilfer, Brad Johnson type of deal. Fine.
Yeah, and to me, this matchup really sets up nice again for the 49ers because the way they're playing defense now is not the way they were playing defense through the first 3 weeks of this season. They're much better with their run defense. Their run defense is suffocating. It's dominant. The way they fill and trigger, it's special. It's artwork.
Yeah, it's crazy. They couldn't really stop the run earlier in the year. They were struggling.
That was one. And
remember Jonathan Taylor gashed them? Anyway, keep going.
Their defensive line is now dominating games. Their defensive line was playing okay in games. I mean, remember Green Bay came in there with a 3rd-string left tackle, and Aaron Rodgers.
All they did was chip Bosa, and now with that. Yeah, end of story. Yeah, now
you can't do that. And their defensive line, Green Bay, this is the worst Green Bay Packer offensive line I've seen maybe Aaron Rodgers ever play with. So, they're gonna have success getting to the quarterback.
Deebo Samuel wasn't a running back week 3. And I keep saying this stat, they're 7-0 when he runs the ball more than 5 times. I mean, it's such an attainable number. And I do think it correlates. I think it's important because he's averaging a touchdown every 7.5 carries. So, yeah, it's like a cheat code they discovered midway through the season.
So, I mean, yeah, and you hear me talking. I 100% agree with that. And I'm basically telling you, I think Green Bay is the best team in the NFL, and I think the Niners match up really, really favorably with them.
Mitchell didn't play in the first game against them.
Yeah, he didn't play either.
He didn't play. Nope.
They had a heavy dose of Hasty and then a little bit of Sermon.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the Niners
Jeff Wilson
won.
too. They have Jeff Wilson too, who I think deserves more carries, but he's not playing at all. So because Deebo is basically
one of the
taking
bigger factors in this game though is just fatigue. 3rd straight road game. And this is why the Niners generally stay in Youngstown or West Virginia because it's exhausting.
Yeah.
But they look pretty energized right now.
They look ready to play, and I think so. The biggest thing, right, it comes down to is beating Green Bay and Lambeau is hard. Obviously, that weather is hard, though. I think the Niners, the way they play football, I don't think the weather is going to make much of a difference. They're a very physical football team, and they set a physical tone in every game.
Yep.
I think it just keeps coming down to if they do get a lead, you know that Aaron Rodgers at some point in this game is going to be able to do a couple of magical things because he's Aaron Rodgers. To me, he's the best quarterback I've ever seen. Not the greatest. I've just never seen anybody play as perfect as Aaron Rodgers can play at
Let
times.
him hang around. He's going to beat you,
and
unlike that.
The question is, right, if you get a lead, you can't have mental blunders from Garoppolo because Green Bay won't make the mistakes Dallas made. And I saw somebody put the donation out for you. I don't know if we'll get to it before I have to go, but they basically said, I don't think Dallas beat themselves. I think the Niners played extremely well game. And I think the Niners played fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I thought Deebo was outstanding. Their defense was terrific, all of that. But they needed Dallas's 14 penalties to be able to overcome the 2 critical errors that Jimmy Garoppolo made in this football game. Agreed. And the Mike McCarthy clock snafu at the end of the game. And so the big difference versus Green Bay will be that Green Bay won't be penalized 14 times. Aaron Rodgers won't throw a dumb interception in his own side of the field, and they won't make mistakes that will allow you to win the game in spite Garoppolo doing some dumb things. So that means Garoppolo has to play a much cleaner football game, and he all the well could. This matchup shapes up nicely for them versus Green Bay, but if he does play the same game he played versus Dallas.
There's a way the Niners beat Green Bay, right? I mean, they sack Aaron Rodgers, and they run the ball really well. So if they can do that, they'll win.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
I think so.
When they lost earlier this year, what did they not do? Sack Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, pretty much.
All that well.
Yeah.
So it's pretty obvious with the Niners. I think there's one way they beat Green Bay. I don't know how many ways Green Bay can beat the Niners, but it seems like the Niners' one way of winning right now is really, really doable.
And
just keep giving the ball to Deebo. It's not that hard.
For the Niners, it's really simple because if we go through the Niners' losses, the key thing that we always look to is, bad turnovers and bad spots. Really, that's what it is. They beat themselves by turning the football over, and they don't have a defense that particularly forces a lot of turnovers. Maybe the only negative kind of thing you can say about their defense. So they often lose the turnover battle and leads them to losing games.
Vish, am I wrong? I think there's only one player on offense who's turned the ball over since week 13.
Yeah, I think is it.
I think Travis Benjamin fumbled in Seattle. I think since then it's been one guy. Where's number 10? Yeah.
So to me, again, it just comes back to I think Green Bay will play a clean football game. I think Green Bay will play well. I think they're a good team. I think they're the best team in the NFC, and they have an incredible home field advantage. And yet, I think the Niners can go into Lambeau and beat them. But you can't be, throwing a dumb interception at 23-10 in your own side of the field and allowing Green Bay to get a touchdown, because with that crowd in that stadium with Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, they're going to make you pay.
My favorite thing about this week and this matchup is I haven't made my mind up yet. I don't know who's going to win. I got to think about it. I got to listen to more guests and ruminate on this one because I don't know. I could definitely see the Niners winning. But I can see him losing. I got to think about this all week. I got to draw this out. Stay tuned. I'll let you know right before kickoff.
I think the one thing I will say is no matter what, I don't think this game will be a blowout either way. I think it'll be a really, really close football game. And I know people are looking at the 2019. They have not played Green Bay in Green Bay with the team. They played them in 2018 with C.J. Beathard at quarterback, but they've not played Green Bay and Green Bay with Jimmy Garoppolo. It's a whole different animal. They were a lot better than the Green Bay team they played in 2013, and it took a magical Colin Kaepernick drive to take them down the field to win that game. Green Bay is.
And what I want to say to Kyle here is, look, you're free to have a quick hook here with Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, he's got 2 injuries, and everyone knows it. They're both on his throwing arm, shoulder and a thumb. He didn't look good with the thumb. I guess he didn't look good with the shoulder too. That was second quarter last week. Now it's outdoors in Lambeau. If he's stinking it up, do you really have to give him the third quarter? I don't know. It's worked out all year, but at a certain point, 2 injuries, people will understand if you make the switch.
And I'll say I'm intrigued to see how his thumb is, right? Because the number one thing he talks about with his thumb is gripping the football. Right. I mean, I've walked outside in 0-degree weather, 5-degree weather. If you're holding on to something, it's usually a rock. It's just very difficult to grip. I've played basketball in that weather just outside with a couple friends. I've actually had to play, soccer games in ridiculously cold weather at times just because it's just what happened. And kicking the soccer ball in that weather is like kicking a rock. And so I'm assuming that gripping a football is not the easiest thing to do. So I'll be interested to monitor with his thumb because he said grip is the one thing he's worried about.
Yeah, to me, it's a bad matchup. But I thought the Cowboys were a bad matchup too, and they were. And the Niners won anyway. So who can, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe they're just gonna have their Trent Dilfer year where it's like it's not about our quarterback at all. He's so irrelevant. We could win with Nate Sudfeld, maybe. It's all about Deebo and how many times we can get him the ball. And it's not hard to get him the ball. You can just hand it to him. You can walk over to him, put it in his hand, and then he'll make everyone miss.
Yeah. Do you think Shanahan will show up in khakis? And Jimmy won't wear sleeves to make a statement?
I think so. Yeah, throwback. That would be tight.
You think it was real sick that he walked. Huh?
You think Colin Kaepernick will come to the game just to cheer on his team?
I don't think he lives in the Green Bay or Wisconsin.
He was a Packers fan growing up, though.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I can't wait. I can't wait for Fox, Buck, and Aikman to show the picture of Aaron Rodgers with the helmet lopsided on his face.
Did you know that he was a Niner fan?
Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, they'll start off. Aaron Rodgers grew up in Chico, California, just 45 minutes away from Candlestick Park. Niners fan growing up. And then the picture of him sitting in the green room, they'll pan to that. And then they'll pan to Alex Smith, shaking Roger Goodell's hands. I feel like they have that entire sequence of clips on, ready to go.
I feel like I've seen it 100 times. Yeah.
Every time they play it.
And they play it like why? The Niners could have had Aaron Rodgers? What? I don't believe it. That's amazing.
And then with Kaepernick, remember they used to show the letter he wrote in 4th grade about how he's going to be a football player.
Play for the Packers. Yeah. All right, Vish. Thank you for giving me an hour. I appreciate it. I'll handle it. I'll handle the questions.
I mean, it's only so I'll be here for another 4 or 5 more minutes, and we'll take questions together. Yeah.
We'll go quick then. Warren says, has anyone seen the report about Jimmy having a right shoulder sprain? Yes. I forget which channel said yesterday, but that they expected this excuse. Were you talking YouTube channel or television channel? You can't say that on TV. You can't say that on TV. Jimmy's pick led to Bosa injury. Play Lance. It led to the Warner injury.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
Bosa injury was a freak accident. He got run into by his own guy. Yeah.
It was actually looked like a little bit slower version of the Trent Cannon one. It was kind of scary when you saw it, just getting kneed in the head like that.
Yeah.
Reason number 4080. My kid won't be playing football. Sorry. Jay says, I'm worried about Fred Warner's injury. I was watching week 18 mic'd up, and there was a scene that showed Fred holding that same knee after a tackle. I hope he doesn't exacerbate that injury. Yeah, I'm surprised it wasn't a knee injury.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
I'm not. Lower ankle. I'm sure he's playing through much more than an ankle, just my guess.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. We just haven't gotten all the details because he has a different agent than Jimmy Garoppolo. Wyatt says, Grant or Vish, what's the status of Bosa and Warner? They're absolutely essential. If they play, the Niners will win on Saturday night. Warner sounds probable.
Yeah, Warner will play. Bosa.
The thing about Bosa is like,
he's going to have to go.
Yeah, it's not about how important he is or how much he wants to play. The whole thing with the concussion protocols is supposed to be
independent.
Cut and dry.
And I'll say, I'll say this. Usually you expect big time players to play in these games. If you remember, Antonio Brown did not play in the divisional round of the playoffs after they beat, the game versus Cincinnati where Vontaze Burfict lost Cincinnati the football game, and he had the helmet-to-helmet hit. Antonio Brown didn't play the next week versus New England with his concussion, so it's not a guarantee.
If you have symptoms, you can't play. Keneal says, my dad's a diehard Cowboys fan, and being able to see that W with him was priceless. Also, Jimmy with a torn thumb and a torn shoulder versus Rodgers and Lambeau is a recipe for disaster. Play the kid. Play the kid. We got to make T-shirts and sell them over the next week. Play the kid. I like calling him the kid because the main character's name in Purple Rain, which Vish has never seen, is the kid. That's what Prince calls himself. The kid. So that's Trey Lance until he's 23, in my opinion. Sal says Josh Norman struck again yesterday, even when he was benched and not playing, especially with that fake punt. Yeah. How do you do that, Josh? Unreal. They got to put him on. They got to put Dante Johnson in for everything Josh Norman's supposed to do, except for the peanut punch.
Then you would be getting Dante Johnson struck again.
True. Also, tell Kyle to stop being so damn scary. Even with how Jimmy played, if we played the whole game to win instead of not to lose by going for it on 4th and 1, we would have put him away early. Yeah, they were up 10-0, and the offense really hadn't missed a beat yet. And Kyle's like, whoa. I don't trust you guys. I don't trust you guys at all. It was kind of weird. And it started on 3rd and 3, calling a run on 3rd and 3. It was like, Isn't Jimmy Mr. Third Down? Don't you trust him on third down? I don't know.
Juwan Jennings is Mr. Third Down.
Just the little out route from the slot.
Somebody, I don't remember who. Otherwise, I would mention on Twitter, but I couldn't take it. Somebody on Twitter after his performance versus the Rams compared him, said he reminds them of Terrell Owens, Juwan Jennings. These are the kinds of things that just bother me sometimes.
He's more like a Jerry Rice type to me, but I.
Oh, he is.
Yeah, I would say he's a cross between Jerry Rice and Michael Irvin with a little Tim Brown sprinkled in. Just all the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait for the Niners offense next year. They have, Josh Allen plus at quarterback starting next year. They have Brandon Ayuk, who's Julio Jones at one receiver spot. Juwan Jennings is Terrell Owens. They have Deebo Samuel. They have a Hall of Fame left tackle. I mean, if I knew who the person was, I would shout it out because it's just funny to me. I'm not meaning it in any malice, but it's just funny of how hyperbolic people can be. And yet when I say Jamar Chase had the best rookie season ever, and I say best rookie season ever and not he's the best rookie receiver ever, people are like, he's not better than Randy Moss. How can you say that? You're the most hyperbolic person ever.
You weren't there you weren't even alive in 1980.
Yeah, I was not alive for Randy Moss.
You're not alive.
I also put that disclaimer out, but it's unfortunate the way things go. I just think it's hilarious that we went from Juwan Jennings, a guy who finally had more than 3 catches in a football game, to Terrell Owens.
Yeah. I've seen enough. David Velez says, who should we be rooting for in the Cards versus Rams game tonight? How much does the whole can't beat a team 3 times in a season thing matter?
I think it should be the Rams. Well, I think the Rams are going to win this football game, but I just think they match up so well with the Rams. You want to see the Rams in the NFC Championship game.
The Cardinals are giving the Niners real problem. The Cardinals' defense has been a problem for the Niners in both games. The Niners haven't scored more than 17 points against the Cardinals this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, and that's exactly what it is. I 100% agree with that. To me, because to me, the other thing is, I think the Niners would like to see the Rams, if they make it to the NFC Championship, out of all these teams. And to me, the Rams are capable of going to Tampa Bay and beating Tampa Bay. Arizona, there's no way in hell, in my opinion, that they can go into Tampa Bay and beat them.
Agree. I'm thinking too, I'm just thinking about where I want to end up. After Lambeau's going to be a tough trip, but afterward, there's a possibility it could be in Arizona if Tampa loses. Tampa's going to be a long trip too, but I get to see Jesse. That'd be cool.
Yeah, but the thing with Tampa is that they're still banged up.
Yeah,
all across their football team.
They are, right? Who are they missing? Wirtz,
Chris Godwin,
the running Brown. Antonio Brown.
Yeah, when you have Keyshawn Vaughn running on you, that was disgraceful.
Do they have Vita Vea?
Yeah, they have Vita.
Okay, good. My fiance thinks you're a Niner fan deep down inside. I really can't express how much I'm not. I don't get upset when the Niners lose, and I don't get super happy when they win. I'm really happy one way or another, and I think that makes me not a fan. I'm passionate about the team, but I think fans usually care about the outcome of the team. I think the Niners should be good, but if they lose a game, I'm not in the press box being like, damn it, how am I going to do my work when I'm so upset? I'm like, okay, here we go. My time. This is my time. So I don't think I am, but I appreciate you. What's good, Vish? And G Money. Deebo Elijah and the defense carries Jimmy G picks. How will he do in the freezing weather with a bum thumb and a bum shoulder? I guess we'll find out.
We'll find out.
I asked Kyle today. I was like, you're undefeated when you give Deebo Samuel 5 carries in a game, and he's averaging, a touchdown every 7.5 carries. I know what you do is extremely difficult, but sometimes you feel like it's just as simple as give the ball to Deebo. And he was like, yeah, or Mitchell. It's kind of a good problem to have right now. They're both really good. Pretty much. Just alternate it. This game probably could have been less dramatic had they not thrown one single pass in the second half. I'm just saying.
Did you see the stat about Deebo in the run game this year? If you give him Jonathan Taylor's usage based on his running efficiency, he would have finished the season with 2,102 yards, 43 touchdowns, and 111 broken tackles.
I'm telling you, he's the best player in the NFL. And I think because I've watched him in person week after week, and I compare him to all the great players. I've seen him on the same field as Jamar Chase, like, it's not close. Jamar Chase is great. I'll take Deebo. I don't know. I saw Cup on the same. Cup is great. I'll take Deebo. I think it's pretty obvious.
He moves different, man.
Yeah,
he moves different. I compared it to with his body. Like when we were talking about his injuries during the offseason, I was like, this is kind of like a Derrick Rose, Zion Williamson athlete where he's a little too explosive for his body, where he might always have an injury thing because of how explosive he is. Honestly, like it's freaky how explosive he is.
This could be the peak of Deebo Samuel right now. 25, 26. Who knows what he'll look like at 28? I mean, it was the peak of George Kittle. So appreciate it and win the Super Bowl now. Don't waste this Deebo season. I mean, I never realized he could be this good. And if you have the best player on your team, it's a good year, good opportunity to win the Super Bowl.
Grant, I want to go here just real quick, and then I also have to head out in a couple minutes. But I did want to ask you this about Deebo. Is he the best offensive player that you've seen on the 49ers since you've started covering the team? Because you've seen Frank Gore, you've seen Kittle, Vernon Davis, Crabtree had a really good season in between. Colin Kaepernick.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, he is?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's better than Kittle, better than Vernon Davis. Crabtree couldn't do this stuff. I mean, Crabtree was an excellent wide receiver, but he wasn't explosive like Deebo. He couldn't play running back. I mean, again, he's like Mostert with power. I mean, I've never seen anything like this. He seems like if he could keep this up and do it over a long time, he's got the T.O. Jerry Rice level of talent. Are you kidding me? He's really that. He's that good. He's an MVP candidate. I mean,
I'm glad you said that because I'm glad you said that because for me, he's the best offensive player I've seen on the 49ers. And that's no disrespect to Frank Gore. But to me, Gore never had a season where you could say he was a top 2 back in the NFL. It was at the beginning of his career, it was LaDainian Tomlinson, Sean Alexander. Then it became Adrian Peterson for a minute, mixed in with Jamal Charles, Shady McCoy. And Gore was always amongst those names. Yeah. But to me, Deebo is at a point where you can say he's a top 10 receiver and a top 5 running back in the NFL, all souped up into maybe being the single best offensive player in the NFL. Yeah. Him, Cooper Kupp, him, Devontae Adams, Jonathan Taylor. He's in that conversation with them, which I don't think Gore ever reached that peak. So I agree.
I mean, you don't have to give Deebo Samuel like 15 carries, but the idea of a guy who can lead the league in yards per catch at 18 and then be this rushing threat where you just give him like 3 or 4 carries from 20 to 25 yards out and one of them's a touchdown. Like, what? I've never heard of a player like that. Yeah. Those don't exist in the NFL. They don't even exist in college. He didn't even do stuff like that at South Carolina.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And it's crazy because since his rookie year, and this is why I kind of like the Steph comparison, because, you know, the thing with Steph, everybody talked about, he changed the game. I mean, since his rookie year, I feel like the draft discourse is he could be your Deebo Samuel. He could be the guy you use on speed.
Yeah.
All this.
Everyone wants
now
a gadget.
He's taking it to
like, he's
level.
a gadget guy.
Yeah.
Now it's like, we don't have a gadget. We need a gadget guy. Yeah.
I think we will see people get drafted because they think he can be their quote-unquote Deebo Samuel. We will see a lot of receivers get drafted high, I think, because of this exact skill set.
Yeah, and it used to be you wanted the 6'4" wide receiver who could run a 4'4", and get down the field on the sideline. Now it's like, well, we need a guy who can play running back too. Can we have someone who's like 5'11" and 220? And it's so weird.
And I saw it, you know, Cincinnati was getting a little more dynamic with their run game and using Jamar Chase as a part of it. I think we'll start seeing the best receivers in the game. Like, you'll start finding out, holy crap, I have Jamar Chase. He's a freak show after the catch. Here's an easy way to just get the ball in his hands without having Joe Burrow stand in the pocket, have to take a hit or anything like that. And I might be able to get 10 to 12 yards. And I think we'll see a lot of receivers now get used in the run game because it's a free excuse to get them the ball.
To me, this started in Arizona this year. The Niners lost. They lost 17-10, and they handed off at the very end to Deebo, and he had this like walk-in touchdown from 10 yards out. And Brian Baldinger made a big thing about it the next day. He was like, "How did it take you this long to get the ball in the hands of your best player?" And ever since then, they don't really. Well, the last 7 or 8 games, they haven't messed around with it. And I want to give Baldinger credit for putting that in Kyle's face. Like, dude, this is so obviously your best play this year. You might want to call it more than once and before you're down in the fourth quarter. Vish, get out of here, man. We're an hour and 10.
Yeah, thank you so much. And if you don't mind, I'll just answer one question before I go.
Sure.
The last question that just came in. Is Deebo what Kyle thought Hurd was going to be? I think it's a lot closer using Deebo in the run game to what they thought Hurd was going to be. I saw the endless Juwan Jennings is who they thought Jalen Hurd was going to be tweets after the Rams game, which is not true to me. Hurd was drafted in the 3rd round to be much more than just a big slot. I think the run game and the fact that you could actually run real run plays with him as a running back was a real part of it. And I think the fact that Deebo is able to do it,
yeah,
I think.
Great.
All right. Thank you, Grant. Pleasure to be on as always. Definitely.
Good to see you. Yeah, absolutely.
Good to see you too. Thank you for the mic. I hope the audio was
it was great. Enhanced the whole show.
All right. Thank you. Credit to you.
Right.
Thank you, Grant. See you.
It was credit to the comment section. All right, guys. Corey says, I know you complimented Ryans for putting Eric at 3 tech, but what happens next year when Kinlaw is back? It's called the bench. He'll be back at DN, assuming Jones is back. I hope not. You want your best players in the field. Let Kinlaw be, someone's backup. What has he ever proven or earned? Phillip Rivers played with a torn ACL. Jimmy soft serve, got to go. Playoff heat melts him faster. It does, right? You can see it. He's not that – he hasn't played well at all in playoffs in 4 games. Baker toughed it out. How did that go? If you're really that hurt, then you shouldn't be playing. He hurts the team. Can't wait until PSJ is gone. Yeah, man, either you can play or you can't. Everyone's going to be like, man, he's so tough. What a legend. Dude, either you can play or you can't. 5 picks the last 3 games. Stop hurting the team. Shout out to Robbie for winning this game with 2 huge 50 yards that almost every 49er fan was worried about. True. I didn't give him explicit praise after the game, and I should. Robbie, great kicks. Those were, because I gave Deebo the credit. I said his 26-yard touchdown run was the difference in the game. 7 points, an improbable 7 points. Those 2 field goals. Improbable for Robbie. They're long, but, he nailed him. Vish got to disagree that Dallas beat themselves. That's the narrative I'm seeing everywhere. Niners earned this win. In my opinion, D was elite on all levels. He addressed it earlier. I agree that the D was elite on all levels. And what Vish said was, despite that, Jimmy Garoppolo's critical mistakes, which were critical, meant that the Niners needed those penalties in addition to their dominant defensive performance. You're both more handsome than Jimmy and put in a full 60 minutes every week. No excuses, take my money. Yeah, what's up with the Niners offense only giving a cool 30 minutes a week? They can't put in a full 60 minutes, but the defense can. I agree that the Niners are a quarterback away from having no weakness. I just don't think Trey is that guy. When I watch him, I see Jalen Hurts. I hate it. Go get a proven quarterback for the squad. York is a clown. I like Jalen Hurts, but I think Trey Lance is a lot better than Jalen Hurts, and this supporting cast is so good. To me, what I like about Trey is even though he's inexperienced, he has the fit. He has the talent to match Deebo and Kittle and Ayuk. He's as gifted as them. And what really is limiting the Niners offense right now is how ungifted their quarterback is. Quick release, though. We need to give Wes Welker more credit for how the wide receivers are performing. True. I really came down hard on him earlier this year. He took it to heart and has done a much better job. So I'm going to credit myself for bringing the best out of Wes Welker and turning him into the wide receiver coach I always knew he could be. Vish, what do you think about Ambry Thomas lately? Sorry, he left, but I think he's really good. I think Vish would say he thinks he's really good too. He's playing himself into a no doubt about it starter next year next to Emmanuel Mosley, which is great because everyone else was thinking the Niners were going to have to spend their first round picks, which they don't have, on a corner. So this makes it easier. Can we give Robbie some credit? He's clutch. Yeah, we did. Thank you, Eddie. Definitely. Credit to Robbie Gould for being Robbie. Oh my God, Jimmy almost gave them the game. I'm happy we won, but bad Jimmy showed up in the 4th. You think we can win it all in spite of Jimmy? Yeah, I do, in the sense that it seems like this defense and run game are unstoppable. And if the Niners just keep riding Elijah Mitchell and Deebo Samuel, they're not going to lose. And they could win with they can win with Jimmy Garoppolo sort of playing the Trent Dilfer role. Because right now, he's a net negative on the game. Everyone's setting him up for success, and he's missing open receivers and turning the ball over, making a few throws here and there, but basically having a net negative impact on the game. And the Niners are still winning because they're that loaded. That's the way I see it. So maybe they can continue to win with him being a net negative. Can we upgrade Chris and D'Amico and downgrade Kyle to OC? That's what I was saying. Can't we just make D'Amico the head coach and make Kyle the offensive coordinator? Look, you don't want to be the head coach, Kyle. Let D'Amico do it. You just focus on offense. Right? Johns George says, honestly, the guts showed by Kyle to not call timeout after that fake punt was huge, and he deserves some credit for that. Well, thank you for giving it to him. I appreciate that. I'm pretty confident in our corners next year. Embry and Mosley sign Verrett to a vet minimum and let Demo compete with a vet for slot or re-sign K1. The Niners going to have to think hard about Verrett and Mostert. You can't keep signing people who get hurt week 1 and miss the whole year. You actually need depth. And if those guys are getting in their 30s, you have to really honestly assess if there's much left they can give. I mean, how many season-ending injuries has Jason Verrett had in his career? 8? Fire Hightower and hire Cowboys special teams coordinator. Yeah, Fossil. I don't think they're going to get rid of him. He's really, really good. He used to be with the Rams. That's fine, Grant. Armstead is playing well, but it's fair to say, where was this pass rush from him all season? Glad it's happening now when it counts. True. I think, again, part of it is that he's not a pass rusher as a defensive end. And since he's been moved into defensive tackle full-time, he is a pass rusher there. So maybe I'm wrong. That's the way I see it. If we lose D'Amico, would it be a good idea to hire Vic Fangio as defensive coordinator? Yeah, it'd be a great idea. I wonder if Vic would do that. My guess is no. I think he really is upset still that they hired Tom Sula over him. I think he thought he was going to get that job. This team is built to win it all now, period, but not with Jimmy, and we all know it. I believe our best chances with Lance. Jimmy is not reliable. I agree. But this team is so loaded right now that it may not matter. They might continue to win in spite of him, which is what they're doing. I just take issue when people say they're not winning in spite of him. Jimmy's really important. Like, dude, no. You can't tell me that the way he throws his interceptions is helping the team. What's Ryan's going to do differently to contain Rodgers to Adams? Well, not play Diamador Lenore. Have better cornerbacks out there this time. How about that? That's one. And maybe get some pressure on Aaron Rodgers. That's 2. So my little bro has always been pro Jimmy, but in that fourth quarter, he was begging Kyle to not let Jimmy throw. Yeah, he's not crazy. He's no dummy. Thank you, Shane. Your little bro knows what's up. Man, only about a half hour behind. Grant hates Jimmy. I don't understand. And F, the guy made some clutch third down plays and only 1 INT against the number 1 turnover defense. We get it. You like Trey. Niner not a bot. Well, I mean, to me, like 5 for 11 for 39 yards and a pick in the second half of a playoff game with pressure. I mean, 2 critical mistakes in the fourth quarter. The reason I gave him an F is because he choked. It was a playoff game. There was pressure. He choked. Like he choked in the Super Bowl. So he made a nice throw. Like Vish pointed out, he made 2 nice throws in the first half. Sweet. And then he choked in the second half of a playoff game. So F. He choked on a quarterback sneak. F. The interception was totally inexcusable. Just throw the ball away. Don't throw it. F. I stand by that grade. I think we can easily beat Green Bay with just Deebo and Mitchell, but if Jimmy lets Rodgers hang around, we lose on the final drive. Yeah, that's pretty much the pattern, right? You gotta demoralize Rodgers because he'll kind of check out. Hit him a few times, he'll get that look in his face like his team is letting him down, and he'll start pouting. Gotta get the pouty Aaron Rodgers face. Michael Carroll says, let's just say Bosa and Warner don't play versus Green Bay. What's the percentage out of 100 does SF have to win, in your opinion? I don't know. 50? I don't know. Off the top of my head, 50? They seemed okay without those 2 in the last game. People want to keep Jimmy because he's a likable person, but he sucks as an athlete. Yeah, he's relatable. People, see themselves in him, I guess. I think Kyle's afraid of losing. He seems to go ultra conservative when in the lead in important games. By the way, I missed the fire him Grant. I mean, it's like he doesn't believe in Trey Lance, so Trey Lance can't play, but then he doesn't believe in Jimmy Garoppolo either. So he shuts down the offense before the game's over. It's strange. I think he needs to play quarterback. Kyle, careful about saying it's Deebo's team. Kyle may get jealous and stop giving him the ball. That's true. Kyle just needs to get it over with and start playing quarterback for the Niners. Green Bay really drafted a quarterback with the MVP quarterback. Don't get it. Yeah, I don't think he got it either. What's up, Rob? Rob Martin. Anybody seen Boombox video? With the exception of Jimmy, I'm souped for this team. How serious is his shoulder? Throw the kid in. I mean, they said he's going to practice all week, so it can't be too bad. I didn't notice it. I mean, do anything during the game. I haven't seen the boombox video where they like walk into on the field. Yeah, that's pretty cool. What would you need to happen next year for you to admit that the Niners were better with Jimmy? What would need to happen next year for you to admit that the Niners were better with Jimmy? I guess the Niners to have like a bad season next year, something like that. But they weren't better with Jimmy. And they're going to be Super Bowl contenders next year with Trey. Colin Cowherd finally gets it with Jimmy. I think the whole world does. I've never seen a quarterback's stock universally drop as much after a playoff win than it just happened with Jimmy Garoppolo. I can't ever remember this happening, but pretty much the whole world saw the same thing. Again, I was in Dallas watching MSNBC. I don't know why. I was flipping through the channels waiting to go home. And I was like, Al Sharpton was on with his whole panel. And it was a bunch of people that don't know anything about football. And they were like, some guy was like, yeah, the Niners are really good. They're really good. Its only thing is that quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, makes a couple mistakes every game. Seems like they're winning in spite of him. And everyone on the panel was like, yeah, I agree. Like, well, that's the national perception of the Niners now. Dang. Vish is the reason why the Niners D-line improved because where they moved Eric Armstead. That, I think they started finding answers for the chips that Nick Bosa was getting too. And I think they figured out some things. Mostly who their best players were. Arden Key was not doing anything earlier in the year. Now he is on the field in every third down playing defensive tackle. That was a mid-season revelation. So stuff like that. What really happened was Armstead got his grown-ass man strength this year. It takes guys a little while. Much like Justin Smith became the Hulk. Nah, the thing with Armstead, he's always had it. I've seen him in practice. He's super violent. He's more violent than Buckner. Buckner has very graceful, fluid swim moves. Armstead just goes head up and is very violent. The thing with him is like being consistent, acting like he is passionate about football every game and wants to finish plays. Now he is. Maybe it was just he was playing out of position. I really can attest to how violent he is in practice. It's something to watch. KP the God said with the Jimmy G injury, do you think Trey Lance will start and take us to the Super Bowl and win it? I think Jimmy's going to keep starting. I think it's just, more context if he plays poorly. Hey, he had a second injury. So just praise him for being tough. Jimmy G has 8 TDs and 8 interceptions since Thanksgiving. In Lambeau, whether he's an interception waiting to happen, that is a sobering stat. 8 TDs and 8 interceptions since Thanksgiving. Oh, in Lambeau, whether he's an INT waiting to happen. Will Kyle shock the world and start Trey Lance? That would be really cool. He should. Going to be a run-heavy game. Trey would be perfect. I agree. You think he'll do it? You think Kyle has the guts to just fake everyone out? I don't know. What's the difference between Jimmy and Tim Rattay? Jimmy's better. Tim Rattay was awful. If Jimmy doesn't matter, why won't Kyle play Lance? Because Kyle and his dad are super conservative and they never gave Lance a shot. What they decided was it takes 2 years to learn our system. A rookie's not playing for us. We're going to put all our eggs into the Garoppolo basket, put all our time and effort preparing him for this season, and we're not going to waver. They made a decision. They're sticking to it, and they're not going to change their minds. I think they made the wrong decision, but I think from their perspective, even if they did, it's too late to pivot. And I would say, baloney. Pivot now, win the Super Bowl. You've seen that it's not good enough from Jimmy. You know it's not good enough. Although maybe Elijah Mitchell in the defense and Deebo Samuel can make it good enough. Is it finally forced Trey time? Grant, keep up spitting facts. Love your content. Greetings from Austria. Thank you. I wrote an article before last game saying it should be Trey time. I'm going to keep saying it, but Kyle's going to keep sticking to his guns. I think I'm not going to say I think the Niners aren't going to win the Super Bowl because, again, undefeated when Deebo Samuel gets 6 carries, hard to bet against that. This could be the first team in a while that wins a Super Bowl, and it has nothing to do with their quarterback. That could happen. Play Trey. But it's like, if that's what you're doing, then just play Trey, right? If it doesn't matter who the quarterback is, and the quarterback you're playing is winning but making it really, really difficult and taking it down to the wire, then play the other guy. Play Trey the arsonist. We're winning in spite of him. Deebo is the man in my next jersey. Glad to send the Cowboys home. Yup. I'm with you. William says, Rodgers neutralized Niners pass rush with quick passes. I hope Niners play the same coverage scheme as Dallas game, but add press. Thomas is good at that. That's a good point. Thomas likes to do press coverage, and they're going to need someone to get up in Devontae Adams' grill. Maybe it'll be Thomas. Arizona offense has huge drop-off since no D-Hop. Yep. Good point. He's a very important player, and they lost him. Colin Cowherd finally gets with Jimmy. Suspect. He'll change his mind next week. Is it an upgrade or a downgrade if Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't play? Upgrade. He's injured in 2 different spots on his throwing arm. I don't understand why they're doing this. Keep talking that real, y'all. Much love. Thank you, man. The dude is injured. Let him heal in peace. Is Deebo what Kyle thought Hurd was going to be? Yeah, better. But yes, the running back, the wide receiver plays running back. Grant, if you had to bet 10K, what's the real reason Shanahan doesn't play Trey Lance? Trey Lance, even after PSJ once again threw another costly pick. TY isn't ready, moment too big, trying to improve Jimmy's trade value. I think they're trying to improve Jimmy's trade value. I think they have a plan, and maybe it's bigger than him. But the plan was to sit Trey Lance this season so he could learn the system and get seasoned. And it's to trade Jimmy Garoppolo this offseason. If they bench him now, they basically tank any possibility of a trade. The minute they say he's a backup quarterback, his value goes down. And so I think they've said a rookie's never going to be ready to play for us. I don't think they ever gave him a chance. I don't think you can adequately judge a quarterback from practice. You got to see what he does in a game. You've seen that when Trey Lance plays, Kyle doesn't really have a good feel for what he wants to do with him. He just didn't he's like, that's next year's project, and never really gave him a chance, and said Jimmy and his savviness is going to take us to the promised land, and yet he plays like the rookie. Sorry. David. Thank you, David. $2. Appreciate you. Jimmy's throwing arm torn off during a photo shoot accident. Kyle says he will evaluate one arm Jimmy on Wednesday. Still says Jimmy is the starter. That was good. Was Ike too flat out of that post corner? I don't know. I will watch the all 22 tomorrow with Jack. So frustrated Kyle won't split running back reps with Mitchell. Please sprinkle Wilson Jr. It is frustrating, especially if Mitchell's inevitable injury were to come. Hey, Grant, love what you do. Thank you. Can you give a shout out to my new ice cream truck company? Nope. I didn't say it. Almost got me, but you didn't, because I'm from Oakland. Rich with the band says thoughts on Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams to the Niners next year. That's a very interesting fantasy. I don't think it's going to happen, but it could. That would be cool. 40 effing Niners. Hey, thank you. If Lance starts, SF wins in Green Bay. From your lips to God's ears. I like Jimmy, and yes, an F was warranted. He missed wide open pass after open pass and could have easily had 3 picks. Yeah, there were some drop picks in there too. Man, that guy almost got me. Should have left Jimmy and Josh Norman in Dallas. Both are bums holding the rest of the team back. Yeah, Josh Norman's in the same boat. To me, Jimmy Garoppolo's been the worst starter on the team for the last few games. He is really holding this team back. I mean, Daniel Brunskill's better than him. Pick your priority signing, Arden Key or DJ Jones. Arden Key. Give me the pass rusher. Jimmy goes out back and lights the house on fire. He then sneaks into the front and puts that fire out. Everyone praises him. Yay, Jimmy. He saved lives. He saved lives that he put in danger. It's true. That's pretty much what happens. Does Mitchell have a 200-yard game in him like Mostert did in 2019 versus Green Bay? If Green Bay loses to the Niners like that again, man, could happen, but they should fire someone. Bills versus Niners in the Super Bowl. Could be. That's looking like I could see that. Niners' greatest quarterbacks, Montana Young, Jimmy G. Garcia was better than Jimmy G. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Oh, I'm exhausted, guys. It's been a long day. I didn't really sleep much last night. Flew in from Green Bay. from Dallas. Got to fly to Green Bay on Thursday. Quick turnaround. I'll be here tomorrow and the next day, then going to Green Bay on Thursday. Working from Green Bay on Friday. Game on Saturday. Fly out Sunday. Be back. The ice cream company was hella funny. All right, guys. I'm out. I'll see you guys later. Enjoy the game tonight. I'll be watching it.